Jamaica is no stranger to crime. With one of the highest murder rates in the world, gang violence and extortion dominate daily life in many communities. Meanwhile, in El Salvador, President Nayib Bukele's hardline approach has turned his country from a murder capital to a regional success story. But could Jamaica adopt El Salvador's bold strategies to fight crime? Would it work, or would it be unconstitutional, impractical, or even dangerous? Let's take a closer look at what El Salvador has done. In 2022, President Bukele declared a state of emergency, giving police and the military sweeping powers. Constitutional rights like freedom of assembly, protection from arbitrary detention, and due process were suspended. Since then, over 70,000 suspected gang members have been arrested in what is being called one of the most aggressive crackdowns on crime in modern history. To house these detainees, Bukele's government built the Terrorism Confinement Center, a massive prison capable of holding tens of thousands of inmates. The results? Homicide rates have plummeted, and Bukele's approval rating has soared to over 90%. But could Jamaica replicate this success? And should it? First, let's talk about the legal challenges. Jamaica's Charter of Fundamental Rights and Freedoms guarantees protections like due process, freedom from arbitrary arrest, and access to legal representation. Suspending these rights would require declaring a state of emergency, something the Jamaican government has done before in high-crime areas through measures like states of emergency and zones of special operations. But here's the issue. Prolonged detentions without trial, like El Salvador's, would almost certainly violate Jamaica's constitution. Similar measures in the past have been struck down by courts or faced fierce criticism from human rights organizations like Jamaicans for Justice. Beyond the legal issues, there are practical challenges. Jamaica's prisons are already overcrowded, operating at nearly double their capacity. Mass arrests on the scale of El Salvador's would worsen conditions and potentially trigger riots or human rights violations. And then there's the cost. Building a mega prison like El Salvador's would require billions of Jamaican dollars. Where would the government find this money? And would it be better spent on education, healthcare, or community programs? There's also the question of corruption. One of El Salvador's strengths has been its ability to execute these policies with tight control over law enforcement. In Jamaica, however, corruption within the police and justice system has been a persistent problem. Without serious reform, mass arrests could lead to abuse of power, wrongful detentions, and the criminalization of innocent people. So, could El Salvador's approach help Jamaica? Mass arrests might provide a short-term drop in crime, disrupting gang activity and reducing violence in hotspots. But here's the catch. Jamaican gangs are deeply embedded in their communities. Unlike El Salvador's MS-13 and Barrio 18, which are more centralized, Jamaican gangs often act as economic lifelines for impoverished areas. Arresting gang members en masse without offering alternatives could alienate communities and lead to more instability. So, what's the alternative? Instead of focusing solely on arrests, Jamaica could 1. Target gang leadership, dismantle the financial and organizational structures of gangs. 2. Invest in community development, create jobs, improve schools, and offer youth programs to prevent gang recruitment. 3. Strengthen the justice system, speed up court cases, ensure fair trials, and address the backlog of criminal cases. 4. Reform the police force, improve training, reduce corruption, and build trust between law enforcement and citizens. Adopting El Salvador's strategies without considering Jamaica's unique challenges could do more harm than good. Crime fighting must be balanced with protecting human rights and maintaining trust in democratic institutions. Jamaica's path to solving crime won't be easy, but it must include a mix of enforcement, prevention, and systemic reform. What do you think? Should Jamaica go all in on El Salvador's approach, or is there a better way forward? Let us know in the comments below.